Hello, everyone. Welcome to Common Sense Choices, and I'm Linda Toupin. If this is your first visit with us, pull up a chair. I can't wait to get to know you. And if you've been with us on this journey since December 2nd, 2021, welcome back. It's because of people like you that this is getting such great reviews. Remember, every time you comment, I get to know you better. Every time you share, we share the good news. And so by commenting, sharing, and liking, you're automatically, guys, entered into a drawing each and every week. And you will receive a wonderful gift from Stuff I Didn't Know I Needed store over at lindatoupin.com. lindatoupin.com. And while you're over there at our store, be sure and sign up to receive emails. Yes, you can find us on Apple and Spotify, YouTube, and I'll also stream on Facebook. But the best way to get each and every podcast is just allow us to email it to you every Thursday at 7 p.m. And you won't even have to think about it. I don't know about you, but I love people just to remind me where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to do. And so be sure and sign up. Well, our podcast is all about making the world a better place by starting by making ourselves a better place. Everybody I know thinks the world needs a lot of help right now. Everybody I know wants to make the world better, but it all starts with us. And so we're on a journey, an adventure together, you and I, on just working and improving and being the very best that we can be. It's built on personal responsibility, and our mantra in the background that you see, if you're watching this, you'll see in the background, there's a 7-foot piece of art with our mantra. I have it on my coffee cup this morning. You can get a coffee cup while you're over at lindatoupin.com. And let's just say it together with conviction. I am where I am by the choices I've made, or I've allowed other people to make for me. I am where I am by the choices I've made, or I've allowed others to make for me. If we want to have a different life, we have to make different choices. If we want a better world, we have to make different choices as well. Well, by popular demand, you all requested maybe not a 7-foot piece of art for your home, but we have it now on an 8x8 canvas print, and they've been going like hotcakes. I think they're going to be on a lot of school teachers' desks, a lot of therapists' desks, and anybody, parents, and anybody who works with anybody who needs to be reminded of personal responsibility will want one of these. You can hang them on your wall, just a little canvas print, or you can run down to Target and Hobby, get one of these little stands, and you can just put it on your stand, put it on your bookcase, put it somewhere where people can see, and that you can be reminded that if I want a different life, I have to make different choices. Well, our journey has been exciting. So far in the month of December, our first month out the starting gate, we focused on mental health. Then in January, we moved to physical health. And now in February and March, we're in the middle of a big, long group of episodes that focus on what does it really take to run an in-home business. During COVID and the Great Resignation, lots of people came home to work and many of them stayed, you may have noticed. And many people are just wanting to run their own show, call their own shots, and be in charge of their own life. Well, as you've learned, if you were not an entrepreneur before COVID, there's a lot to running a business from your home. It's not just let's come home and put an office over there in the corner. There's a lot more to it than that. And that's what we've been focused on. I have only put people in front of you that I take advice from. You should never take advice from people you would not trade places with. So for all these episodes, I think there's been about 10 episodes so far. I've only exposed you to people that I completely trust. And I hope you're taking notes. I've got my notebook. I think I'm already 2 sections deep in the notes because I want to help us grow as a country, as a community, as a group of citizens. And so thank you for helping me do that. Thank you for sharing these episodes with your sales groups, your teams, your youth groups, your church groups, your business groups, because these are free for whoever wants to listen. And I believe that together we will make the world a better place. Well, we're going to get down and dirty today, literally on the farm with a milking the cow work ethic. If you listen to episode number 1, or you know me at all, you know that I truly was raised on a dairy farm, just about an hour and a half south of here in Lexington, where I live. Our family had a dairy farm and we milked Holstein cattle. And for those of you who are bovine challenged, that's the black and white cows that are out there in the field. And so my childhood was greatly affected by an entrepreneurial upbringing. And so in order to be successful at running an entrepreneurial business, we have to define, first of all, how you were raised and how that is going to affect how you view an entrepreneurial business. You see, everybody wants to call their own shots. Everybody wants to be in charge. Nobody really loves a cubicle, and nobody really loves having a boss telling them what to do all the time. And so everybody likes the idea, but not realizing sometimes there probably is a lot to know about an entrepreneurial business. I will be forever grateful to my friend Cheryl Steinman, who taught me years ago that one of the most important questions you ask someone is in helping them run an in-home business is, tell me what your parents did for a living. You see, about 85 or 90% of the population were raised in traditional homes. Traditional homes are where your parents or whoever raised you literally work for other people. And so your childhood, the filter that you view the world is about time, watches, and clocks. What time do we go to work? How many minutes break? How long is lunch? Do we have an afternoon break? How many minutes is it? What time do we get off? If we have to work overtime, how many minutes is it? How many days of vacation do we get? Everything's a clock. But growing up on our family dairy farm for 18 years, I'll be real honest, I don't know that my family owned a watch. We never discussed time. My mom never said, hey, we've been in this garden for 6 hours. We ought to go in. We finished whatever we were doing in the garden, and then we went in. My dad never, ever said, hey, we've already been in this hayfield for 10 hours. We'll get the rest of the hay tomorrow. No, we stayed until the hay was baled and put in the barn. Not once when we were milking cows did he ever say, hey, we've already been out here for XYZ hours. We'll milk the rest of those cows tomorrow. That's not how it works. You stay until the job is done. In addition, when you are raised in an entrepreneurial family, you have a very strong sense of purpose to your life. And through all of that, it's very, very healthy. It's a very milk the cow mentality, which I believe is very healthy emotionally and mentally. So what does that look like in practice? Well, for starters, you couldn't be sick. If you were sick, you still got out of bed at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. and you still went to the barn and you milked the cows. You might have went back to bed afterwards, but see, cows have to be milked at exactly the same time. You may not know anything about milking cows, but you know women who've nursed babies, and timely milking produces constant milk flow. And so cows have to be milked at the same time. And you just don't call up just anybody off the street to come and milk your cows. It's something that, you know, usually only the family can do. And when people died, we buried them in the middle of the day. We got up, we put on our work clothes, we went to the barn, we milked the cows, and then we went in the house, we showered, we put on our church clothes, we buried our grandparents or whoever they were, and then we came home, we changed clothes again, we put our work clothes back on, and we milked the cows. Did we grieve? Of course we grieved, but we grieved while we worked. And what I had no idea was happening to me as a child was a very healthy, emotional, and mental upbringing. A life of purpose, working through situations, never having a crisis so intense that it stopped me from going to work. In fact, I was in college before I actually saw another person say, oh my gosh, I couldn't possibly go to work or go to class today because of XYZ. XYZ mean I broke up with my boyfriend, or my parents are getting a divorce, or something bad is happening in my home. That was never my upbringing. You still had to go to work, and you had to work through whatever your emotional and mental issues were while you worked. And I knew that was healthy. And I know now, almost 68 years into my life, it was incredibly healthy. And so I'm all about helping people become emotionally healthy. And that is part of what Cindy Williams called grit. I call a milking the cow work ethic. No matter what, you have to be a boss for yourself. And the job has to get done. Now, you will notice that my voice is strained today. I don't feel good today. I'll be real honest. I would have loved to just been over there on the couch, putting together a puzzle in front of my fireplace. It's about 36 degrees and kind of raining ice outside. It would have been a perfect day to do that. But I have a milking the cow work ethic. This job had to get done. This episode had to be recorded. This is the third time I've recorded it, okay, because I'm a little OCD like that. But the bottom line is, this is what it looks like. Whether you're sick or you're tired or you're having a bad day, you still have to milk the cows. So I want to segue into that because I do believe that a lot of people want to have a milking the cow mentality. They want an entrepreneurial spirit. They want to run an entrepreneurial business from their home. And so when my good friend Cheryl Steinman taught me years ago to ask people how they were raised, what we were getting to with that question was to anticipate problems that were about to happen. Because a traditional upbringing married to an entrepreneurial upbringing creates friction. So if you were raised in an entrepreneurial family, it's like shoving something round into something square, which is your entrepreneurial business. Now, you don't see it as that. It doesn't present itself that way. All you do is feel the tension and the stress that an entrepreneurial in-home business oftentimes produces. And it produces it in the lives of people who were raised traditionally. And once you understand this and you understand the root cause of friction and conflict, rolled eyes, scoffing at your in-home business, saying things like, oh, when are you going to get yourself a real job? You work all the time. When are you going to give up that notion? What you're hearing is traditionally raised people expressing concern about an entrepreneurial lifestyle. It's that round being shoved into square because it doesn't look safe. Now, in a future episode, we'll talk a great deal about a man named Abraham Maslow, and I'm sure you've studied Maslow's hierarchy of needs in many of your professions before. And it basically says that, at the beginning of every day, you start at the bottom of the chart, and the object of the game is to have a self-actualized day, a self-actualized moment. But it starts down here at the bottom with just good sleep and air and food. And then right above that is safety and security, which is very important in what I'm talking about. Then we have love and acceptance, and then we have esteem needs, and all those needs have to be met in order for you to have a self-actualized moment. Well, an entrepreneurial in-home business to someone who's been raised traditionally can look very scary because it doesn't look familiar. When something isn't familiar, remember that person viewed the world with a clock and a time and a guaranteed quote, quote, dollar per hour. And when you are doing the opposite of that, that doesn't look like that, that creates a fear factor. And so therefore your safety and security are threatened. All right, so that's what you're up against. Well, in my 40 years of successfully doing this, I can tell you how to fix this. And again, I want to appreciate my friend Cheryl because I would have never figured this out if she had not pointed it out to me. It's all about how people were raised. Now, we would love to say that people will just fall in love with your in-home business. They'll think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and they'll be all about it and all supportive and wah, wah, wah. But that's not usually how it looks. What you have to do is what you don't want to do. You're going to have to treat your entrepreneurial business like a traditional business. I know I did not win friends and influence people with that statement, but that's what you have to do. I know. Because you don't like having a boss, you don't want to have a time schedule, and you don't want all that structure because you're running away from that. You don't want a cubicle. All of those things that you ran away from, you're actually going to have to put many of them into place where you're calling the shots, but they still have to have the same verbiage and the same structure because a traditional person in your life is going to look at what you're doing and they're going to make a judgment on it based on something that looks familiar. All right. So what looks familiar to people is a time schedule. You have one, whether you're a waitress, a doctor, a nurse, anyone has a time schedule. There is a time and a day that you're supposed to be somewhere and you're supposed to do something. Well, in your entrepreneurial business, this is non-negotiable. And so I'm going to actually post with this today a link to take you to something called a time schedule. Okay. And what I would like to see if I was in your home and you were running an entrepreneurial business, I would want to go to your refrigerator and see something that looks like this. And if you're listening and you can't see this, it's just a 7 days chart and there's all these colors on it. And I'll give you a suggested key code for this, but you're going to literally design. This was why you wanted an entrepreneurial business. You wanted to design your own time, design your own life, call your own shots. But you're going to have to color code it for the world to see and for your family to see and for your family to respect. See, you have to give your family something to respect. You can't demand respect. Respect is earned. And so you're going to post your schedule every single week. And then when someone comes into your home and they start mouthing off about, oh my gosh, you work all the time. Well, clearly you don't. Okay. You can quickly look at that and see that you don't work all the time. Some of those colors is personal time, some is family time, some is spiritual time, and some is when you're actually working, and some is when you're actually working in your office and or out of your office. And so that's why it's so important. This is, again, non-negotiable. You're not going to earn the respect of traditionally raised people until you start making your in-home business look like a traditional business. All right. And you have to use language they understand. Okay. You know, we get so excited about our in-home business and we tell our family, oh, I get to go to this workshop, or I get to go and do this. And we raise our voice an octave and we get all excited about our job. Well, that's not normal. You're not acting like a normal person right then. And so therefore people are skeptical of it already because that's not how it looks. And so what you have to learn to do is use traditional words. Mommy, daddy has got to go to work. Mommy's got a workshop. Mommy's got a sales meeting. Mommy's got whatever she's got to do. That's how real people talk. That's how traditionally raised people understand. That may not be how you feel, but that's irrelevant, because you're never going to force people to buy into your in-home business by using the language you're currently using and using the tactics you're using. It has to look like something that feels safe and secure to them. So number one is to treat this business like a traditional job using a time schedule on your refrigerator. And if I was personally coaching you and I was personally working with you, that would be the first thing that I would want to see and I would evaluate. All right. And then the second thing is that traditionally raised people know how much money they make per day or per hour. Now, again, that's why people leave those jobs, because they know that they're stuck. They're never going to get out of that rut. But at the same time, you're never going to earn the respect of a traditionally raised person until you know those numbers. So whether you are repairing lawnmowers or you are in sales, whatever your in-home business looks like, there is $1 per hour when you work. So it is up to you and you alone to know what that $1 per hour is. And as someone speaking to you right now who has 40 years of experience and leading tens of thousands of women, unfortunately, a lot of people never make it in their in-home business because they never take the time to treat it like a traditional job. They can't quote me numbers. You've got to be able to quote people numbers. You've got to know that if you're in sales, that your reorders produce an average ticket of, say, $75. Okay. And what is the profit on that? That my average time spent on my business per day earns me XYZ dollars, $50, $70, $100 an hour. That's the good news about entrepreneurial business. It takes very little time to make a lot of money, but you have to know what that number is. And see, when your sister-in-law or a relative or someone gets in your face about your in-home business, and you can say, hey, I only worked yesterday 2 hours and I cleared $150, $250. They don't have that conversation with you anymore. People disappoint you. Numbers never lie. And you have to argue feelings with facts. And so oftentimes in our in-home business, we're working it on feelings. And if you're working an in-home business on feelings only, you're broke. You have to work it on facts. Facts are not feelings and feelings are not facts. All right, so that's your two things. You've got to have a time schedule and you've got to know your $1 per hour, and that will be part of your homework that I leave you with today. And just keep in mind, and there's a lot of topics I could go off on here, but I just want to stick with a milking the cow mentality with you, that you have 168 hours. I've said that on almost every one of my podcasts. God has gifted you 168 hours after you work 40 hours for another person. Oftentimes, unfortunately, they're your best 40 of the week, but that's a choice that you're making. Then you still have 128 hours left. See, there's 4 work weeks inside every week. After you sleep 8 hours a night, which is 72, or 56, then you still have 72 hours left. So after you work and after you sleep, you have 72 hours. What are you doing with the 72 hours? Oftentimes they are wasted because they are unstructured. Unstructured time is often wasted. Or people are taking advantage of you because you're at home all the time and you could just run their errands for them. Well, again, that's a boundary. And that's a decision. And that's a choice that you're making because you haven't set those healthy boundaries up. And we'll talk about that in a future episode. So you have plenty of time to run an in-home business. And most people start while they're still working another full-time job. But again, at the end of the day, this is going to come down to how you view yourself. Are you a victim or a victor? You're not a victim of your time. You're not a victim of your job choices. You're not a victim because you allow other people to use your time or use you. That's a choice. You're making those choices. You're also making a choice about your work ethic and developing a milk the cow work ethic. The job has to get done, and there is no time limit on it. And at the end of the day, here's what I can absolutely promise you, that the men and women who have a milk the cow mentality are healthy. They're healthy about the world. They're healthy about how they view themselves. They're healthy because they wake up every day with a purpose, and they're not just living their life to wait till 5 o'clock. You talk about a wasted life. I can hardly wait till 5 o'clock. What a wasted life. I can hardly wait to get my next project, to get into my next project, to have my next dream come true, to actually think of an idea and make that idea happen. That's the way you live when you own your own business. You can think about it in the shower, and by noon, make it a reality. And it doesn't have to be committed by anybody. So we're going to love our in-home businesses. I hope you are loving these episodes. Next week, guys, I'm bringing on the remarkable Robin Rowland. Again, a person I would only take advice from people. I will only take advice from people that I would change places with. Robin Rowland is your girl on money management and creating wealth. And she'll be on here to talk to you in context of running a business from home. You don't want to miss that episode. Your homework, though, is to start tracking your time and know your dollar per hour. And I will post that with this episode. And of course, we would not end an episode without a shout out to my soulmate. Micro, I know your show is called Dirty Jobs because you actually go show the dirty jobs. Well, owning a dairy farm is one of those dirty jobs. I walked barefooted through a cow manure pile, and I've shoveled a lot of it in my life, and it hasn't killed me yet. Anyway, I'm your girl. You just don't know it yet. All right, we're wrapping up this episode, and I hope you have enjoyed a Milk the Cow mentality, and thank you for being part of Common Sense Choices. Have a great day, everybody. Let's wrap it up.